The suspects were two brothers from the area, Ted and Jesse Ernst. It seemed like an open and shut case with both brothers confessing to the murder. But was it really all that simple? The case is about to take an unexpected turn. Here again is John Larson.
Jesse Ernst was about to be sentenced for his role in the murder of Larry Streeter. He testified the only reason he stole things was that his brother Ted made him. His only connection to the murder, that he was there. In the end, the judge had little compassion for Jesse's weakness. Despite what the Ernsts say, they were told that in exchange for Jesse's cooperation, he would get a lighter sentence. Judge Limpus decided Jesse would pay a huge price for doing his brother's bidding.
Jesse has a conscience. But it took 30 burglaries and a murder, cold-blooded murder, for that conscience to kick in. And I would submit that's not much of a conscience. It is the judgment of this court that he be sentenced to a term of incarceration at the Montana State Prison of 100 years.
Unlike Ted, Jesse would be eligible for parole in 25 years at age 44. Their parents, already devastated by what Ted had done and resigned to his fate, say Jesse's sentence made them furious.
He's in prison for 100 years for something that he did not do.
Well, the judge would say no. He's in prison for 100 years for being there on a murder and helping plan it and set it up and watch it go down and not interrupt it.
If you're going to put Jesse away for 100 years, do it for burglary, and don't do it for something that he didn't do.
But what could they do? Jesse had entered a guilty plea. There was no verdict to appeal. Whatever the prosecutor had promised didn't matter now. The judge had ruled the case was over. But hang on.
I can't imagine why he would hand down that kind of a sentence to this kid, to me, who was obviously impaired, and he was obviously less culpable.
It turns out Jesse's parents weren't the only ones in town who thought his sentence was unfair. Phyllis Quatman, a local attorney, says she actually found it appalling.
What did he get out of the plea bargain? What did he get out of all this for not making the state go through the trial, for cooperating with the police 100%? He got nothing.
So when Ed and Debbie Ernst came to her to see if there was anything she could do, she gladly agreed and set out to get Jesse's sentence reduced. She did a lot more than that. Quatman was able to convince a new judge that the prosecutor had ignored an understood plea agreement. To everyone's surprise, he threw out Jesse's guilty plea and granted him a trial by jury. Jesse, who by now had been behind bars for more than 2 years, was released on bail. It was an incredible second chance, but winning would not be easy. The county attorney now charged Jesse with all those burglaries in addition to felony murder. A conviction on the burglaries alone, which Jesse had already confessed to, would send him back to prison for years. As the trial began, more than 3.5 years after the crime, Serena Streeter, the victim's wife, relived the painful memory of finding her husband dead on Christmas night.
And I went over and found Larry laying on the ground in this huge puddle of blood.
Then came the evidence, and the prosecution's message was clear. Ted could not have committed any of the crimes, including the murder, without Jesse's help. And that made Jesse just as responsible.
These are the Nike ACG 2 Max.
The jurors could see the evidence of Jesse's involvement for themselves. The blood-stained Nike trail shoes, which left those prints at the scene. Pictures of the items Jesse stole the night of the murder, and more.
You're holding up and showing to the jury looks like two handheld radios?
Yes, and a headset.
And
Back when Ted and Jesse agreed to plead guilty to the murder, the prosecutor didn't bother with evidence of the 30 burglaries that preceded it. This time, he went through the whole litany.
The computer monitor on the receptionist's desk wasn't there anymore.
One after another, the burglary victims took the stand to describe what had been stolen from them.
One of our had been broken into, the padlock had been broken off.
I think we arrived at a